Hello, hello, hello. This is Tom. Hopefully everybody's doing well today. And I was thinking about something. I want to talk to you guys about this. Have you guys ever had a situation where you are, dating a girl and you're in a relationship with her, and you may find, and I just realized this, and a lot of guys are telling me this, a lot of girls not really dated. Um, Here in the Philippines, I even asked Ruth this: have you ever really dated someone before you met me? She said only in high school, and then I dated a young guy, but it was a short period of time. And I said, and I got to thinking about it. Somebody else was asking me the same thing. He says I'm with a girl that she's just not really kind of grasping, getting with me. We're not on the same page. And so I said, well, ask her a question if she's ever dating. Maybe he wrote me back and says, not really. So I started asking around. And I should ask, and I wish I could go to town and interview some Filipinos, but they're so shy to me and they won't talk on the camera. And to ask them, are you married? And if so, how long did you date? How long did you date? And a lot of girls, there's a lot of girls here that are, home and going to college and things like that. Never really dated. And like what I call dating, I'm talking about someone that goes to a date that's, you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dates over month 1, month 5, month 9, 15 dates, 20 dates, 30 dates, whatever that is. Going to the beach is considered a date, And they have them, but it was like what really made me think about it. And I says, yeah, I know of 3 guys right now that met a lady. They ended up going to work OFW to provide for family. One of the ladies has children, the other 2 does not. And he was telling me that they really never dated. So the understanding the man is different for them. And what I mean by that, a Filipina sometimes will just be quiet. And it's here, men and women both, it's a sign of weakness to tell your feelings. And so a lot of times they won't tell your feelings in the beginning. You have to really kind of pull it out of them, as you talk to them with them for a period of time. And a lot of Filipinos sometimes will hold themselves in, and instead of saying what's on their mind, they'll hold it in. And same thing on the men, because it's a sign of weakness. And they're taught that early on not to be weak. Where us Americans, we just kind of go with the flow. And it's the same thing when I was growing up. It was a sign of weakness to even tell your feelings. But as time goes on, I tell my feelings anyway. If anybody wants to listen, I'll tell you. I'm having a good day, a bad day. But I never carried it to work. I never would carry the bad day to work. Nobody ever really knew if I had a bad day, because I didn't show a bad day, even if it was bad, horrible. Even a passing of a loved one or something like that, I never would. I would be sad in here, but you never would see it on my face or anything else. I think a lot of times what happens is the culture itself is so different that you really kind of grasping it. After being here 8 years, I'm still grasping it. Some of the guys are telling me they're bringing their wives to the States, and what's happening is they're kind of lost touch with them. And lost touch not in a way you guys are thinking like, oh, she went off, found someone else. No, it's because it's such a overpowering adventure there, and things are overpowering. And a lot of Filipino have a hard time managing their time there, managing their life there. A lot of ladies have requested to come back home and visit sooner than they thought because they missed their homeland so much. And then puts them in a different frame of mind. Even there, as you know, it can be overwhelming. The country itself is overwhelming. The United States is very overwhelming. You can be things can be well there, and things are fine. And of course, the TVs and the news and the bombarding of that, they have that here, but it's on Facebook. A lot of even homes on this street, nobody has a TV on this street but me. and the other guy 2 houses up. But other than that, there's no TVs here. So they get the news, but they get it partially, through Facebook and word of mouth and bamboo mail, where their neighbor knows I go to town and knows who I spoke to before I got home. She knew what I went to town for. I mean, they have that. The bamboo wire, I call it. But what I was really, the main gist of this, and I don't think I really am getting to the core of it, is I want to say that if you're married to a Filipina, make sure you really understand who she is. Make sure you really understand what type of person she is, her heart, where she really wants to go. And she may not tell you. You may have to date her for a year or two to even figure out what kind of person she is to understand it. Because so many times people will get into a relationship and they find themselves not really knowing who each other are, male and female, including the male. Because the guys just don't, hey, this kind of person I am, this is what I am. But they don't tell you the bad side. And if somebody asks me who I am, I'll tell them all the good stuff. I don't tell them the bad stuff. I just tell them the good stuff, right? I don't, this, that, and other. Whatever. So I think what it is, sometimes people miss the boat in that way, where they don't really get to know the lady. They so rushed to get out of the States and so immediate to get here, and next thing you know, they're married. And that happens so fast. And next thing you know, they're pregnant. And next thing you know, they have a baby. And next thing you know, now they're in the relationship, and it's 7-8 years later, and then they're really seeing what type of person each other are in general, because they may not be together all the time. But as you know, you're living with someone 24/7. You really get to know who they are, and you really get to know what type of personality they are. But sometimes here, I notice that a Filipino and male, but Filipino for me, they just really won't say it. I have another guy up in Cebu. He's been married now 2 years, and he messaged me. His name is Frank. He said it's okay to say his name. And I said, it's okay, I'll mention. He said, yeah, just mention the first name. His name's Frank. He's been married 2 years in Cebu. And his wife is all of a sudden has a lot of tempo all the time, and kind of disrespecting him. And as you know, first thing on a man's list is, once you disrespect a man, that's a sign of failure in a relationship. All a man wants is respect. That's all he wants. He don't care about anything else, as long as you give him respect. And once you lose that, so he's saying, is there a way? I said, well, I'm the wrong person to ask. The best person to ask would be someone like a therapist, or maybe someone at church. But then sometimes the people at church, they're having problems in their relationship too, And so you find that here, it's almost like there needs to be some specialists that in care, marriage counselors in care, that a person can go to here. But you go to people in the States, but they're going to charge you whatever, $40-50 an hour, $25. The next thing you know, you're in this thing with them for hours and hours, and they only get an hour at a time. You need someone that you can sit down and talk to, a friend or someone like that. And just recently, I had a phone call this morning early from a guy that's back in the States now. He was here from last year, even during the COVID. He got in here during the COVID. And he left recently. He'd been back in the States, I think, a month. And he was telling me that he noticed his relationship is just not there, and if there's something that he is doing. And he started telling me a little bit about it. And I said, he called me early this morning, like 5 o'clock. He didn't think, So I was actually up at 4 this morning. I just couldn't sleep, I had headaches the day before, and I took medications. I slept all day, and then I couldn't sleep last night because I slept, 20 hours the day before. But I think too, you have this thing, and he was telling me that he's lost contact with her, and he feels, even though they're married, and he feels, he said, I feel like I'm here, and she's way over here. In other words, they're like this, And he says, what how can I said, man, the only thing, and I told him, church and or a counselor, and or you have to really talk it out with her. But there are quite a few guys that are finding themselves marriage 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, 1 year, 6 months, are just really having a hard time. Here's another guy living up in San Fernando that has recently been here. He's been here about a year, and I was talking to him yesterday also, and he was telling me that he was having a problem with his lady. She's not communicating with him, he's not talking. So I think really overall, I think everybody should just stop a minute and wait a minute, pin each other down, ask the questions, and before you go any further in a relationship, ask all the right questions. Do you love me? Do you actually care for me? Are you there for me? And will you be there for me? And they will be, no matter what. They may not love you, but they'll be there for you. So you have to make that decision, because we're not in Kansas, and we're in a different world here. People think, well, and yes, there are guys that are saying, I'm going back to the States and taking the girls with them, and that's great and fantastic. But you want to make sure that you grasp and you talk to them in general and get all the nitty gritty and find out because even after years of marriage, you may find that you lost contact with your lady. And so you really need to take the time and try to build that back up. And if not, if you can't do it, you're best just to eliminate, get out of it. Because it's inevitable. It's inevitable, because it's just not going to work. You find yourself wasting a lot of time and energy, and the bond's not there. If the love was there in the beginning, and it's not there in the middle, it's not going to be there in the end. And so you have to really make that decision on what is best. So if a guy is 65 years old and he's here, and that's happening to him, or if he's 70 years old, or he's older, he only has this much time left. I mean, how many more years on that calendar? 5 years? 7? 2? 10? So you have to really make that decision on what is best for you, and just go for it. Because no matter what, at the end of the day, you got to be happy. And if you're not happy, it's not going to work. There's no way in the world it's going to work. God bless everybody. And thank you so much for always watching my videos. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this.